Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, yesterday's video, while it seemed to be a pretty popular video, I got a little bit of backlash from it because, I said something's about to happen and I didn't give any specifics. I just it was an open question. There was a lot of things going on, some gut feelings, putting two and two together. And while I didn't have any specifics of what was going to happen, I just wanted to talk about that it just kind of felt like things were getting ready to change. And a lot of people thought that was too clickbaity and that it was just a silly video to even post. But, well, today something has happened. This will probably could get me censored from YouTube, but Canada has basically enacted, martial, that word, the martial, law word. I guess I'm just going to say it. If this video gets removed, you can find me on another platform. I know that's not what they said. They invoked the Emergency Powers Act, Justin Trudeau. And as of the making of this video, I've not seen any details yet on what specifically he's invoking, other than just the act. Because the act is just kind of carte blanche that he can just kind of basically do what he wants. And here's something that I have mentioned on this channel in the past. Martial law is a generic term, okay? If it was enacted here in the United States and invoked, you're not going to hear a president stand up and say, I'm declaring martial law. They would say, I'm declaring or enacting, invoking a such and such Emergency Powers Act, okay? That's the technical legal way of doing it. You're not going to hear them say those words, martial law, because that's really kind of a generic term for basically we're suspending rights and privileges and we're suspending the Constitution, or for them it's the Charter, and we're going to do things our way regardless of what you think. That's basically how it works. Now, is this the big thing that I was talking about? Probably not. There's a lot of big things happening right now, folks. This is serious. I know most of my listeners are in the States, but I do have several in Canada. And even for those of you in the States, you can say, man, this is awful. This is bad. Good thing I'm living in America. It's going to affect us. It's going to infect us too, yes, but affect us in many ways, I believe, because the gauntlet has basically been thrown down. The line has been drawn when it comes to anyone seeking freedom. I saw something, I don't know if I can pull it up. I'll try and show you, but there was an article talking about how freedom now is this disgusting, far right wing, terminology that's scary and bad. And that's exactly what they've been trying to play for months, years now, for the last couple of years, but especially for the last few months, that freedom's a bad thing. And anyone that wants it's an extremist. And so we've got to enact these Emergency Powers Act to stop it. And so we'll have to kind of wait and see if to what extent he uses powers. But if you read in the Canadian Emergency Powers Act, that's never before been invoked. It's quite extensive, the amount of powers that he has. And it's what's interesting, and what we'll have to see how this plays out, is that about half of the Canadian provinces and their premiers are completely opposed to this, and they've spoken out against it. So, how big is this going to be? We don't know, but I'm telling you, this is a major deal. This is, I don't feel that I'm exaggerating at all. This is quite significant. In the past few days, there's been reports of Biden encouraging Trudeau to do something to stop this. I'm sure that there's the fear that, well, if that happens in Canada and this continues to happen, then it's going to just, flow over here into America, which is something we talked about yesterday as why it hasn't happened. And I'll be interesting to watch and see the American truckers. Is this going to scare them away from doing this? Or is this going to throw fuel on the fire to stand even stronger and stand, in with the Canadian truck drivers and stuff like that. So we'll have to wait and see. But this is quite significant. There's also another twist that you could make out of this. Did they allow this to happen so that they could have the justification to enact this Emergency Powers Act? I don't know, but I'm telling you, folks, this is a big deal. Okay, this is the first country since this whole health crisis that has gone to the extent of officially declaring this level of emergency powers. While there have been definitely certain powers used by certain governments but this is the first of this happening, and this is quite significant. Even if you're an American, don't think that, well, poor Canadians, this is bad for them, but, we're fine down here. It will affect us at some point. If nothing else, it's going to affect our government, embolden them even more. Now they can say, well, hey, at least we're not the first ones to do this. Someone else did it. They kind of broke the ice, and it made it easier. And so now we can do the same thing. The point is that, it's going to open the floodgates even more for this kind of stuff to happen. And the amount of powers, I suspect the Canadians will probably see curfews, restrictions of travel, especially in the areas that the trucker convoys are happening. And there could be much, much more. In fact, Trudeau said that, the use of military was, well, he said at first they weren't planning on doing that. And then later on, he said that everything is on the table. Don't count on it not happening just because he said he didn't want to long ago, 2 weeks ago. You can't trust people like this, especially him. So that's a big thing, folks. Now, that's not specifically in all what I was talking about yesterday, but I did mention, what was going on in Canada, and that is a big, big thing. And there's other big things going on. Obviously, this whole Russia-Ukraine thing is it's heating up. And if you look at it just on the appearance, it looks like Russia's going to invade Ukraine on Wednesday. I mean, that's what all the news reports are saying. It still doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, if I was Putin, I certainly wouldn't do it when everyone's expecting it. I'd either do it beforehand or afterwards or something like that. But it does look that it's quite serious. The World Bank, they've pulled their people out of the country. A lot of stuff's happening. This is a weird one, though. This really is a weird one. The Zelensky, the president there in Ukraine, has declared Wednesday a federal holiday, and they're all going to celebrate Unity Day on the day that supposedly, Russia's going to invade. As the unity meaning that he's going to allow Russia to come in their borders and basically hand the country over and they can unify with Russia? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on. And there's a lot of stuff going on with this whole thing that's way bigger than what most of the news media is talking about. I mean, we in NATO is in kind of violation of our original agreement with Russia to not bring in all the former, the Eastern Bloc countries into NATO. We have just about every one of them. Ukraine is one of the last ones. Russia is, I know that there's people on YouTube and other places that are saying different, and I'm kind of in the middle here, in the middle road. I think Russia is much more stable than what a lot of people give them credit for. I mean, the amount of the oil that's producing, we purchase like 844,000 barrels of oil a day from them. It's gone up significantly in the last year. If sanctions are put on them and war happens, they can cut Europe off, and Europe will freeze to death with not receiving oil and gas, because Europe no longer has really any other energy source in Europe, most of Europe anyways. There's other things. With China's going to back them up, and I don't think that it's going to be as devastating for Russia as a lot of people think. If and it's a big if a war actually happens. Now, as far as the Biden side of it, I think Biden's is the one that's painted into the corner. And him and his administration for the last month or two has been just beaten this to death. And in the beginning, most of the world, said it wasn't true. And you can see progressively more and more NATO countries are kind of falling in line and supporting this idea from Biden's side. But here's the thing, there's also other stuff going on. The Durham reports have been released, and well, folks, those don't look very good for the Democrats and for Hillary and for Obama and people like that. And we got to have something that's going to distract the American people from that. I mean, the news media is doing a good job of not covering it, but it's still going to get out there on the social media, and we have to have something happen that's going to keep people from really paying attention to that Durham report. And what better way as a big old war? So there's that's happening. And then the one last thing I wanted to mention is the Federal Reserve met this morning in a closed-door emergency meeting. As of the making of this video, I'm not seeing any releasing of what was being discussed, but I'm sure it's, a rate hike, okay? Stock market's already been going down all day. It looks like people are moving their money from the stocks to gold because as the stock market goes down, gold prices are going up. And there's talk in the media that number one, this is the only kind of thing that the Fed has in their bag of tricks to try to fix the inflation, and most experts think it's not going to fix inflation. And in fact, there's even some that say it's just going to make things worse with the amount of debt that we have. We could see things kind of spiral out of control. And I'm in agreement with that. I don't think that a rate hike is going to really do a lot of good, and it's going to, in the long term, do a lot worse. So there's that's happening, and that's a major deal. That's bigger than a lot of people realize, with all the financial troubles that America is in. So when I said yesterday that I feel it in my bones, that something's about to happen. Well, something has happened today. The whole Canada thing, that's big, folks. But the other stuff that's happening, or that could happen, it's all big right now. And so now more than ever, you need to get serious. Talked to my sister and said, you just need to stock up. You need to stock up on some gasoline. She went to the grocery store. They kind of topped off on things. It's getting pretty serious right now, folks. Will the whole Russia stuff happen? There's still a good possibility not. But right now the tensions are really high. Biden is painted in the corner. Putin kind of is in a corner. And when we're in this position and the whole world is looking, and so much has been done in the buildup on both sides to get ready for it, that's pretty scary, because it doesn't take just an itchy finger to just kind of go the wrong way. I mean, the naval forces in Russia's been activated. Satellite images are showing that troops are being moved onto the border into formation positions. There's a lot of stuff that seems to be happening, and it looks like a war. It looks like an invasion, and even if it's not the plan, it doesn't mean that something along the way doesn't work out and it happens. So I think at this point we have to behave in a way as if we're preparing for it, even though it's not happening on our soil. If it does happen, and if America does get involved, it will be a major event in history. So again, a lot of stuff's happening, and I think some of it is being done as a distraction. Some of it's being done to kind of set a precedence for what we're going to be doing in the future. But most certainly something is happening, and some things more are happening. So folks, I don't say this to scare you. I don't say this to just get the views. I don't say it for any of that. I'm telling you, things are starting to get pretty hot right now. We talked about this for months now, for the last few months, that we felt that, things were going to start really popping off big and getting serious. And well, things are starting to get serious, and there's got to be some distraction and movement away from this crumbling narrative on the health crisis, and a lot of other things, and so what we're seeing happen could very well be all that. So folks, get your houses in order, prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually, because it's happening, folks. I mean, it's happening all around us. Don't get so caught up in just the frivolous things of life that we get distracted from it. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.